ॐ दक्षिणास्य समारम्भा शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमा अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ता स्मर्या गुरुपरम्परा श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणम् सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। परिज्ञानाश्रम श्रीगुरुशङ्कर परिज्ञानाश्रम शङ्कर सद्गुरु केशववामन कृष्ण पाण्डुरङ्ग आनन्द परिज्ञान गुरु सद्यो जात शङ्कर सद्गुरु गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम्। यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनः यस्यान्तं न विदुःसुरासुरगणाः देवाय तस्मै नमः। So we are now looking at the Sthita Prajna Lakshanas, and we did the 64th verse last time, where it is said that what Krishna says is here, a Sthita Prajna is the one who has already mastered his indriyas and mind in such a way that even though his sense organs and mind are doing transaction in the jagat outside, all the vyavaharas are going on, even then his mind and sense organs are very subservient to him. And he says that this sthita prajna has a state of mind which is called as prasada. What is this prasada? A poise of the state of mind, equanimity of the mind, what we called as samatvam yogacharya. Samatvam, nothing is really disturbing him. It's like a very cautious driver, who is not disturbed violently by anything that is happening outside. This is a natural state of the sthita prajna. Whereas a mumukshu who is trying to attain this knowledge and who's trying to emulate the sthita prajna has to work on shama and dama, has to work on indriya nigraha and mano nigraha. Here we have to understand one thing, that nigraha does not mean, a kind of a control or submission. No, it's not that. It is just that I am in charge of you. I am in charge of you, the sense organs and the mind, and you're going to be very useful instruments to me, on this path of my journey. So the sense organs and mind are actually sadhakas on the path of moksha. For a mumukshu, they should become sadhakas. They should not become badhakas. Now, for a sthita prajna, this sadhaka badhaka question does not arise at all, because already he's established in this knowledge and his mind has already got that state of prasada. But for a mumukshu to attain this state of prasada, of the mind. What is prasada? I said equanimity, a kind of prasannata, prasanna chetaha, I said in the next verse, a kind of poise, equipoise, equanimity, and a happy state of mind, not disturbed. This kind of a mind is very necessary for a mumukshu to get established in this knowledge, to understand what is being told by the Guru and Vedanta. Therefore, this is what is called as prasadam adhi gachati. An equanimity of the mind is reached by a mumukshu, which is already a natural characteristic of a sthita prajna. So now we'll go to the 65th verse, where the benefits of this prasada buddhi, prasada. See here, as I told you last time, prasada is not prasada buddhya karma phala swikriti of a karma yogi. Here, prasada means the state of the mind when the indriyas and the mind are properly channelized and guided, and the indriyas and the mind are in the vasha of this mumukshu. And that is the state of the mind where it is very easy for this mumukshu to really absorb whatever is being taught by the Guru and Shastra. So, what are the benefits of this buddhi or mind being in a state of this poise and equanimity or samatvam is told in the next verse. So, let's go to the verse 65. That is, prasade prasade sarva dukkhanam हानिरस्योपजायते प्रसन्न चेतसो ह्याशु बुद्धिः पर्यवतिष्ठते. So the first two lines are talking about the first benefit, and the second two lines are talking about the second benefit. Now these benefits are for whom? These benefits are for the mumukshu, not for the already a mukta purusha or a sthita prajna. So for this person who is a mumukshu, who has done enough of karma yoga, and he is now a jnana yogi who is doing lot of shravanam and mananam and nididhyasanam, for him this knowledge should be established. He should be abiding and established in this knowledge. And this prasada, the state of mind, the equanimous state of mind, which is a result of having indriya nigraha and mano nigraha. So what are those benefits now? Number one, prasade sarva dukkhanam hanihi asya upajayate. Asya mumukshoho, for this mumukshu, prasade, in that state of poise and equanimity of the mind, sarva dukkhanam hanihi upajayate. That means what? All the disturbances in the mind. Dukkha means all the disturbances in the mind, or all those situations in the jagat outside which cause violent, sort of movement or disturbance in the mind. All those disturbances are taken care of. So what is one of the most important disturbance which can keep violently shaking the mind? It is sorrow. That's what happened to Arjuna. It is sorrow, raga, shoka and moha. So the shoka here is represented by the word dukkha. It can also include shoka and moha. So sarva dukkhanam hanihi prasade asya mumukshoho upajayate. So all his sorrow and the samsara gets diluted, in the sense nothing really affects him. Though he is in this world, nothing really affects him, in the sense that his mind is available for this knowledge. And the second benefit, which is told in the second two lines, prasanna chetaso hyashu, prasanna chetaso hi ashu. Hyashu means he, ashu. For a prasanna chetasa, prasanna chetaso, prasanna chetasaha, for a prasanna cheta, for a person who has that equanimity of mind, he, for such a person only, ashuhu means shigram, fast enough, quickly, very quickly, ashu, very quickly, buddhihi paryavatishtate. Buddhihi means what? The knowledge which he is getting from Shravanam, Mananam and Nididhyasanam. So that knowledge which is meant to be earned by Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasan, which is called Jnana Yoga, this knowledge is well rooted very soon. It does not take a long time. So all that Shravanam I have done for so many years, Mananam, Nididhyasanam, all this kind of gets established in such a state of mind, which is prasada. Prasada means an equanimous state of mind. Here, ashuhu, very soon, without much delay. How soon? Krishna does not say that. Shigrameva. That means fast enough. That means it depends on how effectively you are having the Indriya Nigraha and Mano Nigraha, and how seriously you are involved in Shravanam, Mananam, and Nididhyasanam. Both of them should be there. So, in such a person, Shravana Janya Prajna or Shravana Janya Buddhi, Shravana Janya knowledge, Jnanam, it very easily gets established. The self knowledge, Atma Jnanam, easily gets established in such a well rooted, you can say, well rooted in this state of mind of a mumukshu. Now, in the opposite sense is also being talked about in the next verse, in the 66th verse. He says, Nasti buddhira yuktasya, na cha yuktasya bhavana, na cha bhavayata shantihi, ashantasya kutha sukham. So, nasti buddhihi ayuktasya. Who is a ayukta? Ayukta is the one who does not have the mano nigraha or indriya nigraha. In the sense, he is not capable of directing his mind and sense organs in the way they have to be directed. So his mind and sense organs are literally driving him, and he is not really in charge of his sense organs and mind. Such a person is called as a ayukta. Who is a yukta? A mumukshu who has indriya nigraha, mano nigraha, not suppressing the sense organs, but directing them very, very lovingly, directing them very intelligently towards the pursuit of this knowledge. He is called as a yukta. A yukta is a person, what you call together, a person who is together. We say this word is very times, this phrase is used. He is all together. This person is together. That is, he doesn't have a scattered mind here and there. His buddhi somewhere, mind somewhere, his indriyas are somewhere. No, that kind of he's not that scattered. He's yuktaha. He's all together. He's bound. He knows what he's doing. It's a concentrated effort in jnana yoga. But this person, if he's ayuktaha, if a mumukshu becomes ayuktaha, what happens? Nasti buddhihi. This Shravana Janya Atma Jnana is not possible. Nasti buddhihi ayuktasya. Nacha ayuktasya bhavana. Nacha ayuktasya bhavana means what? Nididhyasana or dhyana. Just listening is not enough. Making the knowledge, free from samshaya, that is doubtless knowledge, is also not enough. I have to contemplate on this. I have to keep on ruminating over this for this knowledge to become established in me. For nishtha, jnanam has to be converted into jnana nishtha, where I am established in this knowledge. And for this, nididhyasanam, contemplation or dhyanam, is very necessary. To simply tell you an example of what is nididhyasanam, see, shravanam means what? I go on listening and my mind is full of that knowledge. Yes. But then, if I want that knowledge to be assimilated, let us take an example of I put 2 or 3 teaspoons of sugar in milk, okay, and keep it like that. And then I drink the milk. The sugar is there at the bottom of the glass, but then I don't really taste the sweetness of it. What do I have to do? I have to stir that milk in which the sugar is, added. When I stir, what happens? Every drop of milk is imbibed with that sweetness of sugar. So whether you drink from this side of the glass or that side of the glass, or however it is, you're going to get the same sweetness. So this process of stirring, where this sweetness becomes, goes and becomes an inherent part of every drop of milk. Similarly, this knowledge which has been accumulated by me by Shravanam and Mananam, it has to be literally stirred, so that it becomes absorbed knowledge in me. Jnanam should become Vijnanam. Jnanam should become Nishtha. Prajna should become Sthira Prajna. So this is a person who has Prajna, but who is not yet having Sthira Prajna. But our Sthira Prajna, whom we are talking about, already he has gone through this process of nididhyasanam. For a mumukshu who is an ayukta, for such a person, na न च अयुक्तस्य भावना न भावना अपि न च भावना. Bhavana means even nididhyasanam is not possible. Contemplation, dhyanam requires all my attention. All my indriyas have to cooperate with me for meditation or dhyanam. Now, for an ayukta, this is not possible. Therefore, neither the knowledge is of any use nor nididhyasanam is possible. Therefore, sthira prajna or established knowledge is not possible. And for such a person, what happens? Nacha abhavayatah shantihi. Nacha bhavayatah shantihi. The one who has the knowledge, who is accumulating knowledge, but incapable of contemplating over it, for such a person who cannot do nididhyasana, who cannot do dhyana, for such a person there is no peace, there is no prasada, there is no peace. Ashantasya kutha sukham. So for when your mind is full of turmoil, where is the sukha for you? When one feels happy, swastha sukha, when there is shanti, when there is peace in the mind. And peace of mind is what? When my indriyas and when my mind are under me, I am not under their spell. So for a ayukta, knowledge is also not possible, nididhyasanam is not possible, shanti is not possible, sukham also is not possible. Therefore, here very clearly Krishna is telling Arjuna, Arjuna, you become a yukta first. For that, what do you have to do? You have to go through this entire path of karma yoga, jnana yogyata prapti, jnana yoga, and then this. In the next verse, in the 67th verse, he says, इन्द्रियाणां हि चरतां यन्मनोनुविधीयते तदस्य हरति प्रज्ञां वायुर्नावमिमाम्भसि. So he says, for a person whose sense organs are simply wandering here and there without his control, indriyanam hi charatam. Charatam indriyanam. That means those indriyas which are constantly, going after the objects, sense objects. What happens? The mind also may follow them. Yan mano anuvidhiyate. The mind also is going after them. The buddhi is also not capable of controlling them. That is why, in Katopanishad, the mind, the sense organs, the mind and buddhi are compared to a ratha. I told you last time that the horses of the ratha are compared to the sense organs. The reins are compared to the mind, and the sarathi who is actually controlling the reins is compared to the buddhi. The buddhi is the one which discriminates. The buddhi is the one which is able to keep the mind and the sense organs in a particular, path where it is necessary for the buddhi to concentrate on something. So it is a discriminative intellect which has to do that. I means who? It's a discriminative intellect. I. Now, this intellect also is not capable of, a sarathi is not good enough. He's not able to do it. He's an ayukta. That's what in Katopanishad it is said. If the sarathi is not good enough, the whole ratha is completely gone. It can go wherever it wants. There is no question of any control. For such a person, for such a bad sarathi, where the buddhi is also not able to have any kind of a nigraha on the sense organs and the mind, what happens here? Yan mano anuvidhiyate, when it follows that knowledge is not at all possible. Why? He says, tad asya harati prajnam. Prajnam means what? That knowledge which is got by Shravanam is robbed away. Robbed away. I get something and I don't know how to protect it. It gets robbed, isn't it? How do I protect knowledge? How can I protect knowledge? Knowledge which I have already got intellectually, I have a certain knowledge. How do I protect it? I have to go on, doing dhyanam over it. I have to go on contemplating over it. It has to become a vijnanam, a knowledge which is very, very strong, and that knowledge which abides, I abide in that knowledge. Only then it is protecting that knowledge. If I simply listen to something and don't do anything about it, it is just lost. Nobody needs to take it away from me. My own mind and sense organs are sufficient enough to rob that knowledge away. Why? Because when I'm listening, when I'm doing, the Shravanam also, the mind is somewhere, the sense organs are somewhere, the mind is thinking of something. I'm here, but I don't hear. That is what happens. Like Swami Dayanand Ji used to say, you are here, but you don't hear. So 25 years you are sitting here, but then nothing has gone in. Why? Because tasya harati prajnam, all these uncontrolled mind and sense organs, the ayuktas, uncontrolled, are that the ones which are not nigrahitani indriyani, harati prajnam, it's just robbed away. The knowledge is robbed away. Gives an example. What kind of an example? Vayur navam iva ambhasi. When there is a boat without a boatman, nobody is there in the boat, it's just left there, and then strong winds are there, then the boat can just be taken away anywhere by the wind. So the mind and the sense organs of a ayukta are like this, which can be taken away by the world outside, by my vyaharas, by all the arthas. Indriya arthas means all the objects of the world. They can just rob the mind and sense organs, like a boat which is being just taken here and there. See, this boat example is also a very interesting example. A similar example is given by Ramakrishna Paramahamsa Maharaj, on the mind of a sthita prajna. Here he says, a sthita prajna's mind is like a boat. Now you see this, how an example can be used in various situations. He says the mind of a sthita prajna is like a boat. What is the meaning of boat? The boat is always in the water, correct? But water never should get into the boat, right? If water gets into the boat, the very purpose of boat is lost. So the boat is always in water, but water is not in the boat. Similarly, a sthita prajna is always in the jagat. Where else can he go? Doesn't go away from a sthita prajna. Wherever he was, he will be there only. So the jagat is there. The sthita prajna, like a ayukta or like a ajnani, also remains in the same jagat. The same surroundings, but the surroundings don't get into him. Why? Because his mind and sense organs know how to keep the world outside him. Whereas for this person, an ayukta or an ajnani, he is also in the world, but he is like a boat which is drawn by the wind. Not only that, he is like a boat in which water can get in. And once water can, that means what? This boat, he's allowing all the water to come in. Then where is the purpose? The purpose of the boat is not served. So may you be like, a sthita prajna, being in the world, doing everything that he has to do like before, but he doesn't allow the world to disturb him. Whereas an ayukta, because of not having his indriyas and his mind under his vasha, allows the world to come in through all the gateways of the sense organs and mind, and all his knowledge is robbed away. Harati prajnam vayur navam iva ambhasi. Navam iva ambhasi, like a boat in water. Vayuhu harati, it just takes it away. Therefore now he is almost, last few verses, he is almost coming to the upasamhara or conclusion. So what does Krishna say now? He says, तस्माद्यस्य महाबाहो निगृहीतानि सर्वशः इन्द्रियाणीन्द्रियार्थेभ्यः तस्य प्रज्ञा प्रतिष्ठिता. Tasya prajna pratishtita. That is a person, a sthita prajna, whose knowledge is unshaken. It is that person who is abiding in this knowledge. Who is that kind of a person? He says, Yasya, for whom, okay, Indriyani indriyarthebhyaha nigrihitani. See, when we read, the verse, we have to know which word to use, which word to, understand first, after which. So in, it is called Anvaya. Anvaya means, see, this is in a, verse form. So we have to understand it, make it in a prose form. To make it in a prose form, we have to put the right words in the right place, starting from the verb. Okay, starting from the verb, we have to start this sentence, and all the 4 lines have to be put in a prose form so that it becomes more easily comprehensible. So he says here, yasya tasmat, therefore, yasya, for whom, indriyani indriyarthebhyah nigrihitani, all the indriyas are withdrawn or controlled or managed with respect to the sense organs. When? Sarvashaha, always, not once in a way. Sarvashaha, such a person, tasya, that means this sita prajna, tasya prajna pratisthita. Nigrahitani indriyani indriyarthebhyah tasya prajna pratisthita. And Krishna is addressing Arjuna as He Mahabaho. I've told you once long back, when we started, Arjuna is a Mahabaho. He can do the nigraha of all his enemies, but unfortunately, he is not able to take care of his own mind. So he addresses, Hey Mahabaho, give some attention to your own mind and sense organs so that, nigrahitani tasya prajna pratishtita. Therefore, manonigraha, indriya nigraha, called as shama and dama, are the sadhanas for a mumukshu, and natural shama and dama is the very characteristic or swarupam of sthita prajna. So we have to understand here simultaneously when we say sthita prajna lakshanani, this is something which already has been achieved by a sthita prajna, and this is what has to be achieved by a mumukshu as a sadhana. Then the next verse, the 69th verse, it's a little tricky verse. I mean, many people give different kinds of explanations to this. So I will not go into very great details because this will be discussed later as, in the further few chapters. And I'll just give you a brief meaning of this. So what he says here is, ya nisha sarva bhutanam tasyam jagarti sanyami yasyam jagriti bhutani sa nisha pashyato munehe. So if you look at only the word meaning, what we call as the vachartha, what does it mean? Ya nisha sarva bhutanam, that which is the night for all the other jivas. Tasyam jagarti sanyami. In that night, the wise person is awake. Okay. Yasyam jagrati bhutani. When all the other bhutas are awake, sa nisha pashyato munehe. That means the jnani is sleeping. Okay, this is the vachartha of this, if you really look at it. But then what is the meaning of day? What is the meaning of night? What is the meaning of the one who is awake? I'll just give you a very, very brief meaning of this, as I told you why I'm giving this. So here, an ajnani, okay, or a mumukshu who has not yet got this knowledge, he is ignorant of his real nature, his swarupam, atma swarupam, and he thinks that the jagat is satyam. Aham satyam jagan mithya, he does not know. We have already seen that in the 12th verse up till the 24th verse, that atma satyam jagat anatma mithya. We have already seen that. But there is ignorance of atma, that I am this nitya atma, okay, then nirvikari atma, all those atma features, akarta abhorta atma. I hope you are doing some kind of at least some revision later, because the 12th to 25th verse, the whole thing of atma anatma viveka was discussed there. So he says, a person who does not know his own nature, that I am the atma swarupa, he doesn't know. He considers himself to be the body mind sense complex, and he thinks that whatever is happening in the jagat outside is the reality. This ignorance is considered to be darkness. Darkness is compared to ignorance here. That is the symbolism given there, because darkness means here tamas, where you don't know anything. So this ignorant ajnani, the ignorance of an ajnani is compared to darkness. Whereas the knowledge of this jnani, where the sthita prajna or the jnani or jivan mukta, I've given you various names of a sthita prajna. This sthita prajna, the ignorance, the self-ignorance is gone. So who he is, what the jagat is as clear as daylight to him. Okay, that is the thing. So therefore, he says here, ya nisha sarva bhutanam, that which is the night or darkness of ignorance for everybody, in the sense that what I am, I don't know. Tasyam Jagarti Sanyami. Sanyam means this, the Sanyami means this Sthita Prajna or this Jnani. He is awake. Why? That Ajnanam is gone and he's awake to the light of knowledge. So an Ajnani also actually in Acharya Shankara's Bhashya, he compares this Ajnani to an owl actually, because the owls are awake, in the night, all night they are awake in the darkness, and in the daytime they're asleep. But like sometimes in our stories, we have owls to be very wise people. So wise old owl, it is said. And in our Puranas also, there are things where when something has to be confirmed, there are instances where for stories they go and ask the owls. It says, see, you've been sitting here for so many years on this tree, have you seen this particular thing happening? So we have to take it with. So it's just that is compared to a nishachara. A nishachara is taken as a owl. So that which is the darkness of ignorance here, the jnani has understood. Okay. And what is the meaning of yasyam jagriti bhutani? That means all the other living beings are awake to what? The false jagat. The jagat is mithya. The jagat is anatma. They are awake to this anatma, and they are getting affected by whatever is happening in this anatma. Whereas this Sanyami or this Jnani does not bother at all about the Jagat, because he knows that it is only a Vyavaharika Satyam. We saw that, isn't it? Vyavaharika Satyam means it is an empirical reality, it's an experiential reality, but not the absolute reality, including my body, mind, sense complex. The entire Jagat is only an experiential reality. Why? Because it appears and disappears. It changes constantly. Therefore, it is not something which is a paramarthika satyam, that which is all the time there. I, the Atma, is all the time there. Therefore, this jnani is as though sleeping or ignoring this jagat. He doesn't give any importance to this, because he knows that whatever has to go on there will go on. He will continue to do his duty in the jagat with his controlled mind and sense organs. So the jagat does not disturb him. So this is the meaning of when the whole world is sleeping, the jnani is awake. And when the whole world is whole of course, here also you have to take an example only to a certain extent. The whole world cannot be sleeping all at the same time. So it is just a kind of a figure of speech. You have to understand that when an ajnani is awake to a false jagat, it is as though jnani is sleeping. Means what? He does not give any importance to the jagat outside. So this is the difference in the attitude towards the jagat and towards himself. Who am I? Aham Satya Atma. Aham Satyam Jagan Mithya is the knowledge in which this jnani is well established. Whereas an ajnani, an ayukta, even a mumukshu who has not yet got this knowledge or not yet established in this knowledge, for him, what is this? What is his confusion now? What is the darkness? I am as good as the body, mind, sense complex. Okay. And the Jagat is Satyam. So whatever the Jagat is giving me is real. All my transaction with the Jagat are real. Parama Satyam. That is the Satyam for him. This is the night of ignorance. At present, if we understand this much, that should be enough. So in the next verse, again in the 70th verse, Krishna wants to explain the fullness or the purnatvam that a jnani has. It's not a feeling of purnatvam, it is that purnatvam, because he is the Purna Atma, Satya Atma, Nitya Atma, Purna Atma, Sukha Swarupa Atma, Ananda Swarupa Atma. He does not depend on anything else outside for his fulfillment. We saw that in the first verse itself, 55th verse. Atmani eva atmana tushtaha sthita pragnasya tadochyate. We saw that in the 55th verse, isn't it? What does it mean? Atmani eva atmana tushtaha. He is a picture of completeness and fulfillment, Purnatvam. Atmani eva atmana tushtaha. He does not depend upon anything from the world outside for his sukha or his happiness. Now, this characteristic of the Sthita Prajna is explained in the next verse, in this particular 70th verse. Here we go to the Trishtup Chandas. From Anushtup, it is changed to the Trishtup Chandas. So in Anushtup Chandas, you have eight matras and 4 lines. Okay, so that is 32. Whereas in Trishtup Chandas, we have 11 matras, 4 lines. 44 aksharas, 44 matras will be there in that. So let us see how. आपूर्यमाणम् अचलः प्रतिष्ठम् समुद्रमापः प्रविशन्ति यद्वत् तद्वत् कामायं प्रविशन्ति सर्वे स शान्तिमाप्नोति न कामकामी. So here Krishna is giving an example of a ocean as the purnatvam of a jnani. An ocean, okay, a body of water, ocean, is full within itself. Does the ocean depend upon the rainwater or the waters of the river to fill it or make it purnam or complete? No. If waters come, fine. If the waters don't come, fine. If more water gets into the ocean, it does not swell anymore. Tides may be there. The tides are there, but the ocean is not going to become fuller by water coming in, by rain or by any of these rivers coming into it. At the same time, in the heat of the summer, when the water is getting absorbed and forming clouds, when many of the rivers in the summer have gone dry and hardly any water, it does not make the ocean apurna. So this person is like a purna Arnava Swarupa. Arnava means Apuryamanam Achala Pratishnam Samudram. Now he says Samudram Apaha Pravishanti. In Samudram, Apaha, waters. Okay, water is always used in plural in Sanskrit. Okay, it's never used in singular. Apaha samudram pravishanti yadvat. Just like waters enter into the ocean, but it does not make any difference to the ocean. So in the same way, okay, tadvat kamaha yam pravishanti sarve. This sthita prajna is in the same world, exposed to the same sense objects. Okay, the same desires, the same sense objects are entering him through the sense organs, but then he is not affected by them. He does not depend upon the objects of the world for his fulfillment. So, apuryamanam achala pratishtam samudram. What is this samudram? Apuryamanam. It's full in itself. Achalam. Achalam means what? You don't find the ocean moving one way to the other. Land may get sunk inside, but it doesn't shift from, it doesn't flow like a river. A river flows, whereas the ocean is there. Achalam, pratishtam, it is there. Pratishta, it is established in a certain wherever it is. Samudram, in that apaha, waters from various sources, pravishanti yadvat, just like that. Tadvat, in the same way, kamaha, means the sense objects, the world of objects also is entering into this pravishanti yam. Yam means what? Sthita prajnam pravishanti. But then what happens? Sa shanti mapnoti na kama kami. Whereas a kama kami or a ayukta, will get afflicted by this, whatever the kamas entering into his mind through the sense organs. Whereas this particular person who the sthita prajna is not affected because he is the very Purnatva Swarupa itself. Then in the 71st verse, the same Sthita Prajna Swarupa again, he is concluding the Sthita Prajna which he started in the 55th verse. See, how did he start? Prajahati yada kaman sarvan partha manogatan atmanyevatmana tushtaha sthita prajnastadochyate. That is the upakrama. That is how we started, correct? This is the beauty of our Shastra. When a particular topic is taken, the upakrama, a similar wording or similar worded verse comes as an upasamhara or the ending. So here we will find the same thing being repeated here as a conclusion. So when you start something, a topic, you introduce the topic, introduction, and you conclude or summarize. And in summary, you give the same thing that you have introduced. So you have started with an introduction, expanded on that particular topic, and you come back to the conclusion, which is just a modified introduction. So now it is the Upasamhara. So here he says, Vihaya kamanya sarvan पुमांश्चरति निःस्पृहः निर्ममो निरहङ्कारः स शान्तिमधिगच्छति. So, vihaya kaman sarvan. What did we see there? Prajahati yada kaman sarvan. Same thing. Vihaya means all the desires have been given up automatically. Naturally, the desires have just gone away from him because he has seen that he is the Atma Swarupa, which is the fullness. Purnatva Swarupa Atma Amasmi. I don't have to depend on the small bits of happiness. If there, it doesn't mean that Jnani does not enjoy the world. That's also not a thing. When he gets good food, he enjoys it. When he gets good situations in life, he enjoys it. Because it is there, he enjoys it. It is Ishvara's gift to him. He enjoys everything, every small thing. That is why a Jnani is called a Mahayogi and a Mahabhogi. You know, Krishna was called a Mahayogi and a Mahabhogi. Mahabhogi, when things are available, I enjoy them. But then they don't leave that spriha in me, that I don't keep going after them. You know, I want that tambura shruti constantly, I want, like that, you know, that is not going on in him. But when it is available, dharmically, it is there in front of him, he will enjoy whatever is given by Ishvara. He does not have any kind of a contempt for that. So what he says is, Kaman Sarvan Vihaya Yah Puman. This person who, Puman means this man. It can be a woman also. Puman, Purushaha, Puman all means, it doesn't mean only a man. It's for the meter's sake that he has put it as. So it means any person who is a jnani. Puman charati nisprihaha. He goes about in this world doing all his work, all his job. Nisprihaha. Not dependent upon any external object for his happiness. There is no spriha or rasa. We saw that in the previous verses, isn't it? Rasa. There is no rasa in him for a particular object or any object. So he says that nirmamo nirahankaraha. Nirmamo nirahankara. Nirahankaraha. There is no ahankara, that is, I am the body, I am the mind. So ahankara or identification with this body, mind, sense complex. I am this, I am this. And as a corollary to ahankara, mamakara comes, correct? When I am this body, mind, okay, anything which is related to this body, mind, a small sector of the world, okay, I have lot of vairagya for the rest of the world. But one small portion of the world, one small sector of the world, you know, which is closely connected to this body mind sense complex, some people, some objects, some situations, this house, this thing, whatever it is, there I have got a strong identification. So that is mamakara. Extension of ahankara is mamakara. Now because this person is full, you know, purnatva swarupa, nirmamaha nirahankaraha. There is no ahankara mamakara. Does it mean that he neglects his people? Does he mean that if he's a grahastha, he neglects his family? Does he neglect his duties? Does he neglect his body because I don't have ahankara I'm not the body? Does he? No, he doesn't do that, because his own body mind sense complex, we shouldn't even say his own body. This incidental body mind sense complex associated with this jnani, and this incidental small portion of the jagat associated with this jnani, they are Ishvara's, you know, it is Ishvara's sankalpa that he should interact with them. But whatever interaction or whatever vyavahara he has with this body mind sense complex and with this jagat which is connected to him, that does not have any kind of undue entanglement in that. He does his duty, and then whatever it is, it does not matter. Everybody, even in his family or whoever, they have come with their own prarabdha. They'll go through whatever they have to, but he will still fulfill all the responsibilities that he has to do. That is, you know, niyatam karma, swadharma, whatever he has to follow that, he will follow that, but without a sense of entanglement that this is mine, I am this, these are mine. Like Dhritarashtra said, Mamaka Pandavaschaiva, Kima Kurvata, Mamaka, what are my people doing there? So that kind of a mamakara is not there. Therefore, this person has sashanti madhigachati. Shanti madhigachati means what? We already have seen that prasada, shanti, a kind of tranquility and peace which is absolutely not disturbed by any external influences. Last verse of this now, Krishna says, Yesha Brahmi Sthiti Partha Nainam Prapya Vimuhyati Sthitva Syamanta Kalepi Brahma Nirvana Mrichati. Now he says, this, whatever is experienced by Sthita Prajna, or whatever, are the lakshanas of Sthita Prajna that have been told. This is what is called as moksha. Brahmi sthiti is a name for moksha. It is not actually a sthiti. Brahmi sthiti means it is moksha or it is nirvana. He's already saying that, freedom, total freedom. This knowledge has freed this person from all the entanglements of ajnana. So this is yesha Brahmi sthiti he partha. This is called moksha. This Sthita Prajna is a Jivan Mukta. Na ye nam prapya vimuhyati. This knowledge once established, once moksha is Brahmi Sthiti, is, we can't even say attained because it's already there. I have only understood that I'm already that Swarupa. So this yena, this Brahmi Sthiti or this knowledge, once it abides, this moksha Swarupa Atma, when I understand I am this Atma, there is no more confusion. Na yenam prapya vimuhyati. Once this fullness is understood by me to be my real nature, once I understand that I am this Nitya Shuddha Buddha Mukta Atma Swarupa, no more conflicts in life. Muhyati, no samsara. That means what? Raga, shoka, moha, dukkha, all these things are no longer there. And sthitva asyam antakalepi, there are two ways in which it is says, sthitva asyam. So supposing I attain this moksha. See, attain also, I don't like to use that word, but right now let us say, prapya, he is saying that. Once, this moksha is understood to be my own swarupa, once this is understood, okay, then what happens? This person is in this stable state till the end of his life. That is one meaning. It does not go away. That means this is not a knowledge which comes and goes. It is not a state which comes and goes. What is a state? Which appears and disappears. Okay? Here, that is why it is not a sthiti. It is not a state. It is swarupam. Moksha swarupam, which was already there. Now with this knowledge, I have understood that I am this moksha swarupa atma, mukta swarupa atma aham asmiti. I have understood. This knowledge can never go away. It is something which is all the time there. And this Jivan Mukta lives this in like this as a Sthita Prajna till the end of his life. Then Antakale api Brahma Nirvana Mrichati. And he attains this, this particular what we call as Videha Mukti. This Jivan Mukti is what? While living, this person is free from samsara. And it is said that such a person is not born again. Why he is not born again? What is the understanding behind it? That will come later. We'll see that. But such a person does not come back again and again into samsara, like punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, punarapi janani jatare shayanam. We have seen that in Bhajagovindam. So this coming back again and again and again and again into the cycle of samsara because of my karmas coming back, making me come back again and again. Karma phalas, sanchita karmas, prarabdha karmas, making me come back again and again. Well, again, if you have any doubts about Sanchita Karma, Prarabdha Karma, I think Tattva Bodha is already out in our Mutt site, as an e-book. So in that, all these things, what is Jivan Mukti, what is Videha Mukti, and all these things are, been very clearly given there. So you can just refer to that. So he says, Sthitva asyam antakalepi brahma nirvanam richati. So here this jnani never comes back again into the cycle of birth and death. This is called as Videha Mukti. While living, he is a Jivan Mukta. And at the time of leaving his body behind, when his body is left behind at the time of the death of the body, then this Jnani does not come back again like we have all been coming back again and again. And another meaning given is that even this knowledge, if it comes or it is attained at the end of the life also, he will not come back again. But see, he has not enjoyed the Jivan Mukti, isn't it? What does it matter if I come back again or I don't come back again? Anyway, I'm not coming back in the same body again. If my Sukshma Sharira travels and comes back again in some other body after some, say, 50 years or 100 years or 1000 years, why am I bothered about it? What should this knowledge give me? It should give me freedom here and now in this life, isn't it? I live a miserable samsari's life throughout my life and studying this knowledge, but this knowledge has not become an abiding knowledge in me. And I live as miserable as before being exposed to this knowledge. But then at the end of it, okay, I've got this knowledge and I don't come back again. What is the big purpose of this particular thing? This knowledge should transform me here and now, isn't it? This knowledge should give me this freedom from samsara from now, the moment I am abiding in this knowledge, till this body falls away at the time of death, antakale, when this body dies. That is more important. Whether videha mukti is there or not, why am I bothered? Well, some of us may be bothered, but I should give more importance to that freedom from samsara, living right now, here and now. Then I am, an example of a sthita prajna. Who knows who's going to come back again? How do we know that this person who came back now, this person had this knowledge, he got this antakale at the time of death? We cannot say that. Therefore, let our idea be, or let our thoughts be more towards how we are going to abide in this knowledge here and now, so that the rest of my life becomes peaceful and I'm no longer a samsari. But Krishna has to complete the picture of Videha Mukti, which is given in the Shastra initially. Therefore, he says, even at the end of the life, Antakale api, even if this knowledge gets established at the fag end of his life, whatever few days or weeks are remaining, he'll experience this Jivan Mukti and he does not come back. He means the jiva, that jiva does not come back again in another body, which is called as Jivan Mukti. So here with this, the second chapter is completed. So here we can see that Krishna, very briefly, I'll give you a very brief summary here. Second chapter is a complete grantha. You see, whenever any grantha is started, the introduction has to be given as to what is the purpose of this particular grantha. The second chapter being the summary of the entire Bhagavad Gita. The first 10 verses give the state of Arjuna's samsara and also tell us that Arjuna surrendered to Krishna. Shishyasteham shadimam tvam prapannam. He surrendered to the Guru for this knowledge, who understood his helplessness. Dharma samudha chetaha. I am dharma samudha. I don't know dharma adharma. I surrender to you, Krishna. Tell me that which is shreyas to me. So it started with that introduction. And because Arjuna wanted shreyas, and Krishna knew that Arjuna is not prepared for this knowledge. But then, because of the committed nature of Arjuna, and because he was basically a dharmic person, though he had dharma, adharma, moha or confusion, Krishna decided to tell him that ultimately, Arjuna, it is this Atmajnana which is going to free you. And I'm going to give you a brief summary of what is this Atma, what is this Atmajnana, which was talked about in the form of Atma Anatma Viveka, or Dehi Deha Viveka, or Atma Deha Viveka, between 12th verse and 25th verse. And since Krishna knew that Arjuna is not yet prepared for this knowledge, he said, though this is the truth, this is the only way, jnanattu eva kaivalyam, but Arjuna, you are not yet prepared for this knowledge. Therefore, you have to go through the preliminary steps of preparing yourself. And he started talking to him about Karma Yoga. That is starting from 38th or 39th verse he started. Before that, he also motivated him to fight, giving dharma as the reason, swadharma as the reason to fight. From the point of niti, from the point of, you are a Veera Purusha, you cannot run away from the battlefield. How will you be known in history later as a warrior who ran away from? All these were to motivate him, but there was no tattva in that, those few verses. But from the 38th, 39th verse onward, Karma Yoga was introduced as a topic. And from the 46th verse onwards, that is from Karmanyevadikaraste, that is 47th actually, but from 46th verse, actual Karma Yoga was talked about as to what is Karma Yoga. That is 47th verse, Karmanyeva adhikarahate maphaleshu kadachana, most important verse, as you do not have total power or control over the results. You have it only as choice, only as far as the action you can do. This is what you have to understand. And he gave the definition of karma yoga as Ishwararpana buddhya karma. And then Ishwara prasada buddhya phalasvikritihi samatvam yoga uchyate yoga karma sukausalam in 48th and 50th verses as the definition of karma yoga. And after that, what is the sadhana of karma yoga? What is the ultimate sadhya? Jnana yoga and mukti. What is the sadhana for this? One has to go through this karma yoga itself. And so he gave the result of karma yoga and jnana yoga, and ultimately this whole journey who has completed. Who is he? He is a sthita prajna. And from the 54th verse until the 71st verse, Krishna talked about combination of sthita prajna lakshanas as the very nature of sthita prajna, and that which has to be followed as a sadhana by a mumukshu. Simultaneously he talked about it. And then at the end of it he said, ultimately Arjuna, though in spite of the karma yoga, in spite of being prepared for this, ultimately this brahmi sthiti or moksha only really liberates you. So what is he saying here? Arjuna, what really liberates you from samsara is Atma Jnanam. But Arjuna, do Karma Yoga. See this. See, this is the seed mantra for the next chapter. So, what is Krishna saying here? Yes, ultimately it is Jnanattu eva kaivalyam. Atma Jnanam alone and only will free you from your samsara. But Arjuna, you now do Karma Yoga. You be a Karma Yogi. Why? Because Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, there is no choice. Can I take to Karma Yoga for moksha? Can I take to Jnana Yoga for moksha? There is no choice. It is a serial process. Start with Karma Yoga, get Jnana Yogyata Prakriti, Jnana Yoga, and then Sthita Prajna. So what he wants to say is, that is the ultimate. But Arjuna, you are not yet ready for this ultimate knowledge. Therefore, you have to start from the very first step of Karma Yoga and go through this entire process. Then only ultimately what you get is Brahmi Sthiti. Yenam prapya na vimuhyati sthitva asyam antakalepi brahma nirvanam. Nirvanam means freedom from samsara. Nirvana, moksha, mukti. Okay, all these, they mean the same thing. Jivan mukti, videha mukti. Mukti means freedom from samsara. So ultimately that is the one which will give you mukti. But Arjuna, you do your karma. What is your karma now? You have to fight this battle. How are you going to fight this battle? By surrendering your action, Ishwararpana buddhya, your war, your action to me, and accepting the results of the war. Shubha, Ashubham, Jaya, Ajaya, Labha, Alabha, whatever is as my prasada. My means here Krishna is not talking as Mr. Krishna. Krishna is talking as Ishvara here. So may you get yourself onto the first step of this entire journey. So with this, we have completed the second chapter. Om Tat Sat iti Srimad Bhagavad Gitasu Upanishadsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Shri Krishnarjuna Samvade Sankhya Yogo Nama Dvitiyodhyayaha. So next time we'll start with the new chapter, that is the third chapter. ॐ नन्दन्तु साधका सर्वे विनश्यन्तु विदूषकाः अवस्थाशाम्भवी मेस्तु प्रसन्नोऽस्तु गुरुः सदा सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखमाप्नुयात् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय.